And welcome back, folks. Sorry about the 11-minute part. Basically, a giant parade came in the house because it was the day before Mother's Day and they were talking about everything. So I had to quickly mute my mic. But let us continue talking to Zathrian.
What say you?
Or did we finish last time? I don't even remember. Care to answer some questions?
By all means.
So tell me about your adventures.
My adventures? I'm hardly an old man just returned from across the ocean, am I? Should I shake my fist at nearby children while I talk about the good old days?
You constantly talk like you had adventures.
Falling down a flight of stairs is an adventure. Falling into someone's bed, also an adventure. I am assuming what you're looking for are professional anecdotes. Let's see, my second mission ever for the Crows was a bit intriguing. I was sent to kill a mage who had been meddling in politics.
Of course they were. On your second mission?
Well, it was just the one mage. Not as simple a mission as the vagrant Grey Warden or two, perhaps. As it turned out, the mage in question was quite a delightful young woman. Long, divine legs, as I recall. I caught her in a carriage on her way to escape to the provinces. After I killed her guard, she got down on her hands and knees and begged for her life. Rather aptly, I might add. So I joined her in the carriage for the night and left the next morning.
Ah, very interesting. Thank you for sharing. And she didn't try to kill you.
Well, yes, twice, actually. Then she decided to try and use me instead. The woman had actually convinced me to speak to the Crows on her behalf. What can I say? I was young and foolish at the time. Then, as I was kissing her goodbye to return to Antiva City, she slipped on the threshold and fell backwards out of the carriage. Broke her neck. Shame, really, but at least it happened quickly.
So you didn't actually kill her?
Not actually, no. I was a bit unimpressed by the development at first. Then I found out that she had told the driver to take her to Janellen instead. She had planned to lose me in the provinces. I would have looked very foolish to the Crows. As it was, my master was very impressed that I had done such a fine job of making it look like an accident. The Circle of Magi was unaware of foul play, and everyone was happier all around.
God. You got lucky.
I got stupid, in fact, and very lucky. It was after that when I learned that one needn't let a pretty face go to your head. Professionalism was key. That's my moral of the day, you see.
Let's see. A wise lesson to learn.
And one that not everyone learns, I'm sad to say.
Indeed.
But that's enough tale spinning from me for the moment. Talking about the mage has made me a bit nostalgic, I'm afraid. Ah, the good old days.
Okay,
What say you?
let's see what else he's got.
By all means. Again. Well now, what might interest you, I wonder? Shall I describe the stages involved with Lanthrax poisoning? I watched a man go through all 7 once.
If you like, certainly.
No, I'll not inflict that upon you just yet. Let's see, how about the largest battle I ever took part in? That would have been the slaughter of Prince Azrin. Did you hear of that down in these parts?
You killed a prince?
Me? Not personally, but I did take part in the attack. Prince Azrin was 4th in line to the throne, you see. He started off as 11th, but worked his way up the old-fashioned method by inheriting control of an entire Crocell from his grandfather. After assassinating his way through the royal family, the king hired 3 other cells to take down Prince Azrin once and for all. I was in one of those cells.
this sort of thing common in Antiva?
Antivan royalty is very much bound up in the Crows. You wouldn't want it run by a bunch of commoners, after all, would you? And this means they get involved in politics quite often. This particular fight nearly bankrupted the nation, I understand. It almost ended up putting a Crow on the throne, a commoner. But that's a whole different story. I played a very small part.
Seems like an odd way to run the country.
Antiva might seem a bit odd in that way to outsiders. We take it in stride, however. Assassins are simply part of the landscape, so to speak. My part in the entire battle was taken up trying to reach Princess Verina, who had thrown in with her brother. I killed about 11 of her guards personally before I got knocked out of a window. I landed in a river and nearly drowned. I was fished out by some urchins who robbed me blind. Made off with my boots, too. At least they didn't cut my throat. And that was my part in history.
Well, that's very interesting. You're very lucky indeed.
It's true. I live a charmed life. One of the prostitutes that raised me was a fortune teller. Said I wouldn't die young. She was rather startled by that. But there you go. Tale told. Let's be off before I tell more embarrassing stories, huh?
No, continue.
What say you? By all means.
Any more stories?
Well, the only one that's really worth telling is the story of the mission right before I came to Ferelden. But no, I would rather not. I shouldn't have said anything.
Why not? What's the problem?
Nothing that I would prefer to speak of. Perhaps another day. I'm sorry.
Very well.
What say you?
I want to discuss something personal.
Oh, this should be good. What would you like to discuss?
I want you to leave. No, never mind. Anything else we can get
What
out
say
of him?
you?
Do you stare at everyone like that?
Not everyone, but a beautiful woman like yourself. Why not? I'm sure you draw many stares from men and even other women. Does this bother you?
Not really, no.
But you would prefer I desisted, perhaps. It would be difficult traveling as we do in close proximity, but I am nothing if not a gentleman.
Yeah, you're a gentleman, alright. No, I really don't mind.
Then I shall keep that in mind, and perhaps even redouble my efforts. There was a young elven dancer in Antiva City once, and I believe I actually managed to stare off all 7 of her skirts. It's a trick worth retrying. Now that that is out of the way, perhaps we should move on. With you in front, of course.
Oh dear. Well, that was interesting. Let's see, who else didn't we talk to? We didn't talk to Alistair yet, or Morgan. Since Alistair's right here, we might as well talk to Alistair.
Something on your mind?
Do you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
I just thought you might need to talk.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the Blight and everything. I'm sorry.
No harm done, Alistair.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
What about the other Grey Wardens?
I don't know. I have no idea what the Grey Wardens do for their... when they fall in battle. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just...
No, not really. Not since I went to the tower.
That must have felt a lot like when I got sent to the Chantry. You mages don't even get a say in the matter, after all. Thank you. It was good to talk about this with a friend. It means a lot to me.
He was a friend of mine, too.
That's good to hear. It's nice to know I'm not the only one who remembers him well.
Okay.
Something on your mind?
Oh god, no, we're not doing that.
Of course.
Tell me about the Grey Wardens.
Such as they are.
Where are the nearest Grey Wardens from here?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Is there a quartermaster somewhere?
Here in Ferelden, there's
wait,
our compound in
headquarters,
Denerim at the
not
palace,
quartermaster.
but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt. Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here, but I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
Interesting. We will have to start rebuilding the Order.
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be 2 of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
What happens if we just leave? I guess everyone dies. So what happens now? There's just the 2 of us.
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Loghain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
And we might as well see what this response does.
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere. About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. Something on your mind?
Okay, let's see. No, we're not choosing that response. There's no question.
Of course.
What can a Templar do, exactly?
Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry
Like Holy
would tell
Smite.
you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells.
So Templars use magic themselves.
You could call it that, sure. The Chantry doesn't look on it the same way, however, since really our talents only work on mages. Against a regular person, I'm just a guy in a metal suit.
So you've hunted many mages?
No, I never actually became a full Templar. Duncan recruited me before I took my vows. I was only present during one harrowing. That was all I needed, too. I don't know how anyone could get through that. The girl they tested, she had a demon put inside her to see if she could resist. And she couldn't. We had to end it quickly. I have to say I didn't have much interest in becoming a Templar after that.
So can others learn... Yeah, so can others
Perhaps,
learn these traits?
but there usually isn't much of an opportunity. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put two and two together.
I see, interesting. So you were addicted to this lyrium?
Thankfully, no. You only start receiving lyrium once you've taken your vows. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templars' talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away, either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me.
I hope that Steam message didn't pop up in the recording. Oh well, doesn't matter. Sorry folks, I may sound a little groggy today, but I just woke up.
Something on your mind?
Yeah, let's
Of
see
course.
what else you can tell us. So how did you become a Grey Warden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out.
Okay,
You
good.
haven't forgotten already, have you?
Haha, very funny.
I do my best. What can I say? Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
You don't seem like the religious sort.
You're telling me I was banished to the kitchens to scour the pots more times than I can count. And that's a lot. I can count pretty high. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
Do you think Duncan took pity on you?
I don't know. Maybe. When he came looking for recruits, I just remember praying fervently to the Maker that he would pick me. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have.
Don't start crying again, please. He was a good man.
He was. A good man who didn't deserve his fate. That much I'm sure of. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
Okay.
Something on your mind?
Yes.
Of course.
So you said this Arl Eamon raised you.
Oh, did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact.
That's what I remember you telling Flemeth.
Well, if you're going to go and pay attention to the facts, then fine. Let's see, how do I explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Arl Eamon wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough.
I see. Why did he send you off to the Chantry?
Arl Eamon eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, the new Arlessa resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Arl didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10, just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me.
Interesting. What an awful thing to do to a child.
Maybe. She felt threatened by my presence, I can see that now. I can't say I blame her. She wondered if the rumors were true herself, I bet. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall and it shattered. Stupid, stupid thing to do. The Arl came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there, and blamed him for everything. And eventually, he just stopped coming.
And you think the Arl will help us?
I think so, yes. This news we've heard about him being sick disturbs me, though. I wonder if we won't discover that Loghain has come to the same conclusion as we have. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Interesting. What are Codex messages that we will eventually read?
Something on your mind? Of course.
Some questions? Why have you remained a Templar if you hate the Chantry?
Have you seen the uniform? It's not only stylish, but well made. I'm a sucker for good tailoring.
Ah, so you're like me. Very good. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen you wearing it.
I keep it hidden under my pillow. Sometimes I'll take it out just so I can hug it fondly and remember the good old days. Brings a tear to the eyes, you know.
Do all Templars make these jokes, or just you?
Oh, you know, between all the guilt and the hours spent in solemn prayer, any good Templar or priest is just bursting to tell a few good jokes when the opportunity arises. You don't really want to know about my being a Templar, do you? It's really quite boring.
I really do want to know, yes.
Poke, poke, poke. Tell me everything about your life, Alistair. All right, if you insist. It's not like we have anything better to do, right? The truth of the matter is that I did hate going to the monastery. The initiates from poor families thought I put on airs, while the noble ones called me a bastard and ignored me. I felt like Arl Eamon had cast me off, unwanted, and I was determined to be bitter. But I took some solace in the training itself, I guess. I was actually quite good at it.
What did you enjoy about the training?
The education, mostly, but also the discipline. You need to have a disciplined mind in order to use the abilities we have. It was difficult, but rewarding. I never really felt at home anywhere, though, until I joined the Grey Wardens. And Duncan felt my Templar abilities might be useful for when we encountered Darkspawn magic, so I kept it up. What about you? Do you have anywhere you consider home?
Home is wherever camp is. We're travelers now.
We won't always be traveling like this, you know. Once the war is over, once the Blight is... well, a time will come when we'll have to think about having a real home again. Though that seems like a far ways off. And I suppose the Grey Wardens are gone for good. Either way.
Hmm. That's assuming we even survive. No, we're gonna survive. You can always keep traveling.
Maybe. Could you? I don't know what I'd find out there that would be any different. I guess it would depend on where I was going. Anyhow, now I've sidetracked us. We'd better get back to what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Oh, -1. That's fine, that's fine. Okay.
Something on your mind?
And
Of course.
some questions again. What changed about you after the joining?
You mean other than becoming a Grey Warden?
Been a Grey Warden longer than I have.
You know, I asked Duncan this too, and all I got was, "You'll see."
He wouldn't tell you.
Oh, it's not that Duncan wants to keep it a secret. It's just that the Grey Wardens don't discuss it much. I gather it's not a pleasant topic. The first change I noticed was an increase in appetite. I used to get up in the middle of the night and raid the castle larder. I thought I was starving. I'd slurp down every dinner like it was my last. My face all covered in gravy. When I'd look up, the other Grey Wardens would stare, then laugh themselves to tears.
Maybe you were just a pig. I haven't felt anything like that.
Really? Because I was watching you wolf down food the other day, and I thought, ooh, it's a good thing she gets a lot of exercise.
What can I say? I'm a growing girl.
I'll say. I didn't mean it like that. No, don't hit me. I bruise easily. Oh, and then there were the nightmares.
I won't hit you, I'll burn
Duncan
you.
said it was part of how we sense the Darkspawn. We tap into their, well, I don't know what you call it, their group mind. And when we
Hive
sleep,
mind.
it's even worse. You learn to block it out after a while, but at first it's hard. It's supposed to be worse for those who join during a blight. How is it for you?
Nightmares, yes, I know what you mean.
Some people never have much trouble, but that's rare. Others have trouble sleeping their entire life. They're just more sensitive, I suppose. Everyone ends up the same, though. Once you reach a certain age, the real nightmares come. That's how a Grey Warden knows his time has come.
His time has come.
Oh, that's right. We never had time to tell you that part, did we? Well, in addition to all the other wonderful things about being a Grey Warden, you don't need to worry about dying from old age. You've got 30 years to live. Give or take. The Taint. It's a death sentence.
Fuck.
Ultimately, your body won't be able to take it. When the time comes, most Grey Wardens go to Orzammar and die in battle rather than waiting. It's tradition.
How cheery. Good thing I'm already
And
dead.
you wondered why we
It
kept
appears.
joining a secret from the new recruits. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, it does seem like a high price to pay because, I mean, we didn't really get any more powerful being a Grey Warden. Ooh, we can sense them. That is about it. Lovely. I never wanted this. I don't understand.
You know, Duncan, he started having the nightmares again. He told me that in private. He said it wouldn't be long before he'd go to Orzammar himself. I guess he got what he wanted. I just wish it had been something worthy of him.
That is all we have to look forward to.
We can look forward to ending the Blight. That's what's supposed to make this worth it.
Okay.
Something on your mind?
in, talk to him more. Is there anything
Of
else
course.
we can talk to him about? What was it like to be a Grey Warden with all the others?
I didn't know them for very long, but I guess it was longer than you. You never met them all, did you? They were quite a group. Actually, they felt like an extended family, since we were all cut off from our former lives. We also laughed more than you'd think. There was this one time... Well, you probably don't want to hear stories about men you didn't know.
No, I'd like to hear about them.
There was one Grey Warden who came all the way from the Anderfels. What was his name? Gregor. He was a burly man with the biggest, fuzziest beard you've ever seen. And the man could drink. He drank all the time, but he never got drunk. Finally, we all made a pool to see just how many pints it would take to put him under the table.
Sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Sometimes. We were kin of a sort. All of us had gone through the joining, so we knew... Well, anyhow, it doesn't have to be deadly serious all the time. Anyhow, we never did find out. He said he'd drink a pint for every half pint that the rest of us drank. He was still going by the time the rest of us were passed out. I'm told that Duncan walked in later on and saw us all passed out from one end of the hall to the other, and Gregor still drinking. Duncan laughed until he nearly... Until...
Okay. A lot of people have died, Alistair, and a lot more will.
Yes, I suppose so. I thought I was done with this, but it just struck me that I have nothing to remember Duncan by. Nothing at all. There's no body, not even a token of his that I could take with me.
We have these swords.
That must sound really stupid to you.
And the joining chalice. And a bunch of other things. You have your memories of him.
I just would have liked something of his to take with me, that's all. Well, there's no use in moaning about it, is there? He's gone. Let's just go.
Okay. This is going to be an extra long part, because I think we're just going to finish, the talking off. Because we got one more party member to go for now, so might as well. Oh, I am sorry,
I have
folks.
a thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. That came out of nowhere. Oh, what's on your mind?
We have an opportunity that I believe we should take advantage of. To the point. My mother was once divested of a particular grimoire by a most annoying Templar hunter. It occurred long before I was born, but even today, Flemeth speaks of the loss with great rage. With the circle of magi in such disarray, it occurs to me that this might be the perfect time to recover the tome from their possession, for surely it eventually ended up in their hands.
Very well, if we go back to the tower, I will look for it.
Good. I am most interested to see its contents, should it be located. The grimoire is leather-bound and adorned with the symbol of a leafless tree, should you come across it. If not, however, then I shall simply put it out of my mind.
I think we already have that in our inventory right now, but let's talk to her.
I await your command.
Good. So life in the wilds must have been very lovely.
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees.
And did they speak back?
Don't be foolish. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
I can't imagine Flemeth was pleased.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken.
We'll go with this response.
That is because I learned my lesson well. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
Well, you don't need to live that way any longer.
Do I not? I am still an apostate mage, even if I have left the wilds. The Darkspawn are yet undefeated. No, there is much that remains. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality.
Ah, she didn't like that.
I await your command.
Let's see. I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
How did you become a shapeshifter?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
Yes. Your mother has been doing this for a long time, then?
Changing her form, certainly. Devouring lost children, I cannot say. She has not done it in my experience, though in truth my lifespan is but a fraction of her own. Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can you change into any other human form as well?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
Okay. Can anyone become a shapeshifter?
Anyone with sufficient will. But the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. Indeed, you could learn the spells required if I cared to teach you.
Do you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
And what did other animals think of you when you were changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
Well, that's not true, but I'll ask it anyway. I never heard of magic like this.
No, 'tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the Chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could, but as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll go with this response.
I'm shocked that you think so, being a mage of the circle as you were. But perhaps you
I'm a
felt a
blood
little
mage,
like
too.
a caged bird as well, caught within that dark tower.
Yes, very much so.
I thought so.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
I think your abilities sound quite useful.
A most practical opinion. Far more so than any man I have spoken to. But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
Okay.
I
And
await
again.
your command. So, full of questions, are you?
Can you teach us... Actually, no. Did you grow up in the wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
You could if you wanted to.
Oh, what luck. What is it you asked? If I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
But you kept going back to the wilds?
Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
You can just imagine.
I rather doubt that. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be travelling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped, and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
That was quick thinking.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
I have no idea. I'm not human.
Do not speak to me of trivialities. Your culture is not so entirely different. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Yet here you are.
Yes, here I am. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
That would be amusing.
I await your command.
And we're not done with you.
So, full of questions, are you?
Is Flemeth really what she seems to be?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
A powerful Maleficar?
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
I'm more interested in the truth.
I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
That sounds interesting.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Yes, I've heard that part.
The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conobar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conobar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conobar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
Ooh, I see. He sold his wife to another man.
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conobar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
She spoke to spirits or demons?
Spirits first, and 'twas they who slew Conobar. Flemeth did not turn to the demon until much later. Lord Conobar's allies chased Flemeth, you see, chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Interesting. Of course Flemeth would say that.
You would be surprised at how little my mother cares for what I or others think of her past. The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
Very well. Do you believe her version?
I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has coloured her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all.
How is it that Flemeth has survived for so long?
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
The legend tells of Flemeth having many daughters.
You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one, and these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed, so should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
One moment, folks. And we're back, folks. Sorry about that. I noticed that the birds started chirping a little bit, so I had to stop them. Let's see here. Why would she refuse to speak with them?
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
Yeah, we'll hear this response anyway.
How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand.
Indeed.
What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her.
It is an interesting story, thank you.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious, nevertheless.
There's nothing really to say about her.
I see. I find myself a little envious, to tell the truth. But it matters not. Let us move on.
Okay.
I await your command.
And what else do you have?
So, full of questions, are you?
Tell me, are you really Flemeth's daughter?
I assume you were actually asking whether Flemeth herself gave birth to me.
Yes.
Truly? I do not know. I once asked Flemeth that very question, and she merely laughed at me. 'Tis not inconceivable that she could capture a chastened man, or perhaps change to a more attractive form to attract him willingly. I find it more difficult to imagine her with child.
Could she have stole you as a child?
It seems likely, does it not? In an animal form, a babe could easily be spirited away and raised as Flemeth's own. I do know the tales of Flemeth having many daughters, even though I have never met another, and Flemeth has always treated me as her blood.
She doesn't seem very motherly.
Must one be a doting and simpering moron to be considered a suitable mother? Flemeth taught me everything I needed to learn. How to survive, the meaning of power, the truth of men. If other mothers do not teach these things, then I believe them the lesser.
So I suppose that's true.
You suppose it's true? 'Tis true. To indulge in love is to indulge in delusion. Surely a Grey Warden such as yourself does not believe otherwise.
I'm not sure what I believe.
An honest answer, if a somewhat vapid one. You shall learn in time, if fortune smiles on you. I await your command.
What else do you have?
So, full of questions, are you?
Have you ever been hunted by the Chantry?
My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes. by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
It probably was fun to her, yeah. Just sitting out there, and then all of a sudden, oh, here comes something different. You really had no trouble with them?
I am unsure. I was too young to understand, and perhaps 'twas bravado on Flemeth's part, or perhaps she was merely amused. I will never know. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait, a little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Did you actually kill them all?
Me? No, I never did any of the killing, until later. And even then Flemeth was a glutton for that sort of thing. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
Probably thought you were dangerous with good reason.
Is it true, then, that given enough time, the prisoner will learn to love the cell? The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the Circle of Magi as apostates, and apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true. Still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit.
Meaning what? We'll fight you to the end?
I will note that we only ever defended ourselves. But if they wish to come for us, certainly. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand. I await your command.
She really didn't like that. Okay, let's see here.
So,
I think we only have
full
one
of
more
questions,
option here.
Possibly, if I had the desire to. I do not.
Perhaps you better find the desire then.
Perhaps you should dispense with your threats. I will pass on my mother's knowledge if and when it suits me.
Ooh, she really didn't like that.
I await your command.
Let's try again.
So, full of questions. Possibly, if I had the desire to. I do not.
And why not?
I was told to accompany you and to help you, and that I shall. This may extend to the teaching of my mother's skills in time. For now, I simply do not know you well enough. I promise nothing.
Very well. Let's see, what is her affinity with her? Should be fairly high. Yeah, apparently not high enough. So, we got two more of these gifts.
Interesting.
Let's see if that's high enough.
I await your command. So, full of questions.
Is this high enough?
Possibly, if I had the desire to. I do not.
As you wish. Okay, so it's still not high enough. Let us give her the grimoire. I can't even say it right now. Yes, that is it. Okay, so we do have it. Here you go.
What? You found Flemeth's grimoire? When I spoke of it to you, I did not truly hope. This is a most fortuitous event. You have my thanks. I will begin study of the tome immediately.
You're welcome.
I do not intend to squander this opportunity to learn more than Flemeth wished me to know. This should be interesting.
There we go.
I await your command.
Now will you teach us?
We are in camp, so
Oops,
'tis as
I
good a
didn't mean
time as
to.
any.
Click that. Not yet, at least.
I await your command. So, full of questions, possibly, if I had the desire to.
No, she still won't teach us yet, unless choose the other option. Should I choose it? I might as well.
I await your command. So, full of questions, are you? Possibly,
Let's
if
see.
I had the desire to. I do not.
Should have known you'd be a selfish bitch.
I trust I am supposed to be shocked and dismayed by your language. Do not make me laugh.
She didn't like that.
I await your command.
I thought you might find it amusing. Anyway, let's go.
We're in
here.
camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
Now then, why are you still here?
I am here because Flemeth commanded me to aid you. Why? Do you wish me to leave? I can do so if you prefer.
Yes, I want you to go. I thought we were friends.
Are we? Then why do you ask such a question?
Because it's fun. Okay, well, we're done with her, and I'm going to end the part here. Because I am hungry. Until next time, folks, until then.